Good evening, everyone. Now, I'm sure if you are a wrestling fan, the rumours of CM Punk joining AEW have not passed you by. There has been so many, and AEW's made hints themselves, CM Punk has recently made hints himself, and with this week's Rampage being in a record stadium for AEW in Chicago, this week seems like if it's going to happen, it's going to happen now. So I thought what we'd do is we'll have a look at some of the matches I would love to see, or some of the feuds I would love to see if CM Punk does join AEW, and just talk through them and obviously get your guys' feedback down below if there's any that you think I've missed, or let me know what your CM Punk dream match in AEW would be. Now, the first match I'm going to talk about is, it's a little bit out there, I suppose, but I think Pentagon Junior would be a great option to face off against CM Punk. I feel like Pentagon is an incredible in-ring competitor, and I think his style would mesh with CM Punk very well. I think the pair of them are very technical, as well as being quite agile and able to really work off each other's strengths, and I feel like it would be great. Obviously, CM Punk's charisma on the mic would really help in this feud. Of course, Pentagon as that Alex Abrahantes guy, who would be able to do a lot of that stuff as well, but I think it would be a fantastic feud to have these two go in the ring at it together, and it could end up getting a little bit more rough and ready, I suppose. Pentagon is no slouch. He's involved in weaponry matches and so forth. We've seen that before, especially in Lucha Underground. We saw some great stuff with him and Vampiro as well. So this could be a really interesting feud, which could go a lot of different ways. And I feel like when CM Punk does move into... if CM Punk does move into AEW, he will need a couple of builder-up feuds, and I feel like the first one looks like it could be Darby Allin, as they've hinted towards, and I think a Pentagon one could work really well as well, with Punk obviously coming out on top to help build him up back to a level, because he hasn't wrestled for a long time now. I mean, he's still got his reputation, but what sort of ring rust is he going to have after that many years? So put him in a couple of good feuds, but feuds you expect him to come out on top of, would be very good to build him back up to the level they want him at. Anyway, moving on to feud number 2, and this one would be absolutely incredible just from a promo side of things. CM Punk versus MJF. Can you imagine those two on the mic? I mean, MJF and Jericho work so fantastically together on the mic as well, but I feel like this could work incredibly well. CM Punk and MJF just battling back and forth on the mic with some absolutely epic promos, and I feel like they do have the ability in the ring to back that up as well. I mean, again, it's going to probably take Punk a bit of time to get back up to match speed. MJF at the moment, of course, is probably one of the best up-and-coming wrestlers out there at the moment. I think from a heel perspective, I don't see anybody who is going to be anywhere near as good as MJF at his age at this point in time. I think MJF has got a massive career ahead of him as a humongous heel, and I think this could be great for CM Punk. And as I've said in some of my previous videos, you can imagine what would happen if this Friday, for example, Cult of Personality hits in Chicago. The crowd go absolutely crazy, and then out walks MJF. The heat that man will get in Chicago will be absolutely immense. And then they could build a CM Punk feud from that. Punk could come out midway through MJF's promo and just take over. And I think that would be an absolutely fantastic way to do things. I don't think it's going to happen, though, of course, because MJF is currently tied up with Chris Jericho. So I don't think that's going to happen at this point in time. But still, I think the CM Punk MJF feud would be absolutely incredible. Moving on to the next one I would love to see, and that is CM Punk versus Jon Moxley. These two guys. I mean, I don't think we ever really saw them work together too much in WWE. I think they just about crossed paths. I think the Shield debuted as part of a group to stop Ryback from defeating CM Punk, I believe, for the championship. And I don't think they ever wrestled against CM Punk. So this would be a really interesting one that I would love to see. And again, I think both of them fantastic on the mic. There'll be some great promos back and forth. And I think both of them, their styles do really quite match. Punk is probably a little bit more technical, a little bit more submission-based and mat-based, whereas Jon Mox is probably a bit more of a ground and pound. But I feel like it could work really well. Just the speed of the two of them, I think, would mesh pretty well in the ring. And I think we would get some absolutely epics from them. But again, just the promo work and the mic work to really build the story around the match, I think would really make this an absolutely incredible one. Next up then, of course, the obvious one, CM Punk versus Kenny Omega. I do see Kenny Omega as potentially, I would say one of, if not the best wrestler in the world at this point in time. And I feel like if Omega can, if Punk can get himself back up to speed quickly enough, this is the big thing. I mean, Punk hasn't wrestled for like about 10 years or so it might take him a bit of time to get back up to speed and get back up to a speed where he can wrestle fluidly against Kenny Omega. But if he can, if Punk can get anywhere near where he used to be, Omega versus Punk could be absolutely incredible. It really could. I mean, the storytelling between the two would be fantastic, and then you've got, obviously, the Elite and so forth getting involved, and you've got Punk as your massive face to go up against the Elite and try and take them down. It would just be so good, and I really hope we do get a chance to see it. However, again, I think it's going to be pretty much tied up for now, because Omega, of course, is feuding with Christian, moving forward into All Out and so forth, so if it is going to happen, it's probably going to end up being next year, but that would give Punk a chance to have a couple of not mid-card, but a couple of build-up feuds to get him back up to that main event level, and then the likes of Kenny Omega could be an option for him. And finally, I mean, this is an interesting one. I don't know if this will happen. I don't know where the situation sits on this one, but Colt Cabana. Of course, if you don't know the history, there's quite a bit of history between CM Punk and Colt Cabana. They were massive friends back in the Ring of Honor days. And, well, we're through WWE in that as well. And, of course, they both were together to sue WWE as part of a lawsuit about treating the wrestlers and not looking after their health and that sort of stuff. And then that's where their relationship broke down. I think it was something to do with legal fees. I'm not 100% sure. And since then, there's been a very broken relationship as far as I understand. So, obviously, we don't know what happens backstage. We don't know if the two of them have been speaking when there's that sort of stuff. But it'd be interesting to see where Colt Cabana does sit if Punk does come in. Will they just coincide with each other? Will they work together? Will they just be kept apart? That's the interesting thing that I want to see. But I feel like if Tony could convince him to have a match together, that could be huge. If they actually turned this whole thing into a feud where they could work from it. Because AEW have often said they know that the fans aren't stupid. They know that the fans know about what happens behind the curtain and that sort of stuff. And this is one of those things that a lot of people do know about. So if they could use that, if they could get a Colt versus CM Punk feud off of that, if their relationship is healed somewhat, then I think that could be a very interesting way to go. And again, another chance for CM Punk to build himself up and show what he can do, while also helping Colt Cabana really have a decent feud. Because Colt's been just there, hasn't he, so far? He's a great hand in the ring. I'm assuming he does a lot of training in that backstage and that sort of stuff, but he's not really been involved in anything massive so far, so this could really be a chance for Colt Cabana to really put a shining star on top of his career with a fantastic feud against the returning CM Punk. It could happen. I can't see it, but it could happen. I mean, a few other honourable mentions, I suppose. Like I said, Darby Allin will probably be the first match for CM Punk if he does come in. That's a big if still. We're still saying if. Of course, they have hinted towards it, so I would imagine that probably would happen. Another one I thought about as well, and this is not technically AEW, but Hideo Itami, or not Hideo Itami, Kenta, sorry. We have seen him in AEW at one point. Of course, the pair of them both used the GTS. I believe, did they have a fantastic match back in about 2005, 2006-ish in Ring of Honor? So maybe we could have a recreation of that match, and that would be an absolutely incredible one to see as well. So there's my honorable mentions. I mean, there's probably loads more. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Who would you love to see CM Punk face off against in AEW if he does return? Let's stick with the if, but it might be as early as this week, as far as we're aware. I mean, if it doesn't happen this week, then AEW could get themselves not in trouble as such, but they're going to get a bit of backlash because they have hinted towards this. There has been a lot of rumours as well, which they haven't gone out of their way to quell. CM Punk himself has hinted towards it when he was commentating on an MMA match the other night as well, so it'll be interesting what happens, won't it? Really interesting what happens. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Who would you like to see CM Punk face off against if he was to join AEW? Would you like him to see Would you like to see him cross the Forbidden Door into the likes of Impact? Can't see Impact myself, but maybe over to New Japan could be an option. But yeah, let me know what you think. Good night, God bless, I'll be the same. Please do like and subscribe the video as well, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.